Let's talk about different ways to set up your SMTP settings. The workflow diagram you're looking at offers pros and cons for each method you might choose. The easiest approach to setting up an SMTP server is to simply have a personal email, find the SMTP settings, and input them into BokehPix. However, you may find that several different items are going to prevent you from successfully sending an email, such as security settings or restrictions upon that personal email as far as how many emails can go out a day, or perhaps it might go to a spam folder when sending to your client. In addition, it's not always very professional to have emails coming from some generic Gmail address, as an example, versus a professional domain email. The second method is simply a way of purchasing a more professional email account versus a free one. As an example, something from AWS or GoDaddy or some other email provider where you can provide your domain name, which contains your business name, and then have an email account established with it. From there, you do the same method. Input the SMTP settings from that email server into BokehPix. The chance of a successful email going through using method 2 versus 1 is more likely. The third option employs the method of a relay service. A relay service is a method where you verify your email's authenticity beforehand, and then the email is sent through the relay SMTP provider, thus giving you a better chance of a successful email and reducing the possibility of that email going to a spam folder. You can use either a free personal email account through the relay service or a more professional one. We're going to walk through an example of the third method since that is the preferred choice. We're going to look at SendInBlue. SendInBlue is an SMTP relay service. Notice that we've signed up using a free plan, which has a daily sending limit of 300 emails a day. Probably more than enough than we need for our business, but if we ever want to upgrade, there are options for that. Now, in order to verify an email address, we have to go into our user panel and go to Senders and IP. The easiest way to do this is through an email address that you want to send through. Notice that we've set up an email address already with a Gmail account. To do a new one, you put the name that you want it to be from, that's going to be the displayed name, and the email address you'd like to verify. It will send an email to that email address, ask you to click a link, and once done, will be verified through the link. We're all set. All we have to do now is get the SMTP settings, which is located in the user panel under SMTP. Inside the SMTP, it gives us all the information we need for our SMTP server, the port we should connect to, the login, and the password. From there, we simply have to put it into BokehPix now. Here we are in the account settings of BokehPix. We got there clicking the user panel and going to account. Under SMTP, we can see where we need to input the SMTP server, the port, the username, password, and what the email from address is going to be. There's our settings for SendInBlue with the port, email address, and the password. And there's our from email that was verified. Let's test it. Always test before you save the settings. It indicated that it sent an email successfully. We're all done. Now, don't forget to push save. Otherwise, it won't use that email service. If you want to remove it at any time, simply click the remove. And again, don't forget to click save. Let's perform an example with our new SMTP relay. We'll create a new email going out to one of our clients and just put some information in the subject as a test and the body. Now, this email hopefully will now come from our personal email address we set up, but relayed through SendInBlue. Here's the email. Notice that it's from ourselves, which we labeled as Bokeh Smith, first and last name, via the SendInBlue platform. You can also drop it down to see exactly who the email address is using the relay service. Now, if the client replies to this email, it will go to your Gmail account. To set up a custom domain for your web portal or website through BokehPix, you need to come down to your account settings under Custom Domain and click Change Domain. From there, you will put your particular domain in, and then we'll have some steps to go through before it can become active. We'll first get notification that you've requested a custom domain and create a security certificate for you, which you will have to put into your DNS as a CNAME record. Put the name and the value in as we send the email to you once it's ready. When that's finished, you'll need an additional CNAME record to point your DNS from the URL that you own to the URL we've set up for you in BokehPix. Only when the status is active will it be available.